welcome to the show. Niko here. And today was one of those days. Today was exactly one of those days. Spent a lot of time inside these past few days. Past 2 days particularly. Going in on rest, going in on some R&R. I did a cannabis fast for 15 days, and I finished that. I ended that by choice, but what that meant was smoked a joint and watched 2 or 3 podcasts. Laughed hard a few times. And we can get into that. I'd love to share some of my favorite podcasts that I'm getting in on right now. But that all led up to today being exactly one of those days. Just the kind of day you wake up, you go outside. You go outside. 50, 60 degrees in the Midwest. So not that bad. A little overcast. Okay? Just one of those days. You go outside, you walk, you survey the land, and then you get butt naked. And then just take a poo outside. Squat down, and you do a little outdoor poo. Today was an outdoor poo day, and I encourage a safe outdoor poo whenever it strikes. And I got some positive feedback from this experience that I'm definitely going to share. But when you're outside and you got a forest to protect you, you're in a safe spot, you get naked some days outside, and you take that morning poo outside. And a few things on about a naked morning poo outside is you have to take your pants all the way off. Where the poo lands is like right behind your heels. So you squat down just behind the heel. So your pants would be there. So you actually have to take your pants completely off. There could be a technique that I'm not aware of yet, but just based on the data I collected today, pants off is the way to go. So you take your pants off, and I've been conditioned not to leave a shirt on if my pants are fully on, off. So take your shirt off, fully naked, in the nature. And when you're not pooing into a water source like most American toilets, you get the smell. You get hit with the smell almost immediately. And that's good information. A poo might be a good indicator of your health, and the smell is part of that. But yeah, I hit immediately with it, with the smell. Wasn't able to collect much data from it other than I just felt like I was doing the right thing at the right time. And here's why. Get naked, before naked, overcast. Blanket of gray along the Midwestern sky. As soon as I get naked, the sun parts the clouds and hits me right on the naked body. Thank you. Immediate thank you. Wow. Maybe I need to let go a little bit. surrender to the nature, surrender to the universe, and part of that is a naked outdoor poo to start the morning. And look, my platform for the past 5 years, and this is what I built my entire political campaign upon, is you gotta sun your genitals whenever is possible, whenever is safe. You gotta get the vitamin D on your you gotta get the vitamin D on your vitamin D. Really, that's for the gentlemen. Your vitamin G for the ginas, for the ladies. It's gotta happen. It's gotta happen. And if you haven't done it, if direct sunlight hasn't touched your genitals, or you can't remember when the last time that's happened, you're in dire need. Urgency. I stress urgency. Next sunny day, if you have to, you're living in the city, set up whatever apparatuses with towels and laundry racks, and get direct sunlight on your genitals. Now, bonus is to include your taint. So that, lay back, rest your balls on your stomach for the gentleman, or just push them to the side. Look, I'm not trying to get into technique here. You don't have to stress technique all the time. Sometimes 1,000 repetitions will answer any technical questions you have. So I'm not here to stress technique. But get the sun to the anus, to the taint, scroach, shaft, urethra. Vas deferens is inside. 15, 20 minutes maybe. You don't want to burn it. I haven't had that issue, and I've done, Puerto Rican sun, close to the equator. I've hit it with that Midwestern sun, which you can probably do a couple hours roasting, if the clouds will let you. Get a light roast on your genitals, on your taint. And this is my platform. This is what I want to build my campaign moving forward. This is the thesis of my show, is to sun your genitals. And trying to describe it to someone who hasn't yet done it, look, it's understanding through experience. Once the direct sunlight hits your genital, you'll know. And you'll probably tune back in. So it's a worthy endeavor. So I squat outside, I make the commitment, I get the validation, the sun comes out as I strip, settle into a low squat, poop onto the ground. Dig a hole if you want, right? I'm fortunate, I got plenty of space. I got some forest walls, got a long driveway. I felt safe. Naked. My dog's naked. She poops outside. I don't know if she's happy. So everyone was doing it, basically. And I joined. And it was good. So I kept the clothes off, and the sun stayed out. Did you wipe? That's why I know you're thinking that. Did you wipe? And I want to lie, but I wiped. And it kind of lent it, because I wanted to come inside and grab the guitar and practice a little music naked out in this, As soon as I went inside, clouds straight up covered the sun again. I get back outside, it's still cloudy. So I was like, you can't test the powers, you can't test the magic these nature validations, they kind of pop up. They spring up like hiccups, you know. These little messages from the wind, from the sun, from the water. So it stayed a little bit cloudy, but you know what? I sat there, played a little music in the naked. The sun peeked through, and that, you know, that's the kind of day. That is exactly that kind of day. Yeah, I mean, this is the most sober I've been for a podcast. We'll see how it goes. I mean, episode 3, trying out sobriety, and really, I got to thank the FLOTUS. If you're unfamiliar with the FLOTUS, First Lady of the United States of America, and this is her, you know, this is her message.
Substance Abuse Prevention Month. In my time as First Lady, I have worked to raise awareness.
In my time as First Lady, so much respect for the FLOTUS. You know, taking a platform of basically the war on drugs. As the First Lady, let's hear what she has to say. It's 2 minutes, so.
Dangers of drug use among our youth through my Be Best initiative. The goal of Be Best.
The risk of drugs for the youth. Look, okay. I started smoking weed at 13. Don't recommend that. Develop, you know? Go through it. Understand what what your sober brain's about. Yeah, youth. Is it going to stop? Is this going to stop? No. War on drugs, do we have to go there? Sure. The war on drugs doesn't work. I question whether the war on anything works at what is... It seems to create more of the problem, right? I mean... This isn't new information, so I'm just going to lightly dust over it, and I'm also not a sociologist. But I do have a perspective on that which you resist persists. It's along those lines. I think that falls true sometimes. It's not a universal truth, so there's going to be fallacies in it. But the resistance of drugs in my personal life seem to have exacerbated it. Smoking some weed when I was 13, didn't love it. Took a break till I was 15. Got caught, right? My flip phone went off. So I get home from a party. I had a curfew. Get home from a party, 15 years old. 16, we'll say 15, 16 years old. Had a bedroom, go to my bedroom, take off my jeans, throw on some shorts, go back downstairs to eat some cereal. You know, a little bit of munchies. Like a dime bag was in my pocket. It wasn't even half eighth. It was in my pocket. My phone rings. It wakes my dad up. He goes to look for my phone, reaches in my jeans, pulls out a bag of weed, storms downstairs. Now, my dad's a good dad. I hit pretty much the dad lottery in terms of like just not hyper aggressive. Gave me everything he could, truly. Like, gratitude for your parents it was easy for me, right? Because I didn't have it wasn't too nothing was egregious. Like, we had certain disagreements. He had certain expectations that needed to be, I had to let him down on. And but all in all, like, I learned pretty early that blame of anyone is regressive. To take responsibility as often as possible. Just knowing how insidious blame is. Like, no relationship is worse than someone who's constantly blaming you and showing no, like, internal analysis. Those are people you got to cut out immediately. Like, it's not getting better. Narcissism is something I can definitely see in myself. Like, I'm putting a camera in front of me and talking. But, you know, I kind of hedge that by setting the intention of sharing something that could actually help, of sharing my life while I still got it, pretty much. But the narcissism that is available, or that I've seen now in 31 years in certain people, and I just thought that, like, oh, by showing them that I can criticize myself, showing them that I can be self-aware, it'll rub off. And sometimes it does, but there's also just some people who don't have the capacity to turn the analysis on themselves. It's constantly pew, 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 pew. And they could have trauma, and I'm not trying to get into them. But if you can't self-analysis a little bit, if you can't bring that into conversation, it's going to be an uphill battle for any relationship. So, good parents. And even if you have bad parents, you know, you listen to the people who made it, and they kind of like say, listening to Roy Jones Jr. on the Rogan podcast, and he had a father that he thought was never gonna let him be greater than he was. So he had to surpass his father to achieve the greatness that he did. It's Roy Jones Jr. If you don't know, he's one of the best boxers ever. He's like the best heavyweight after Mike Tyson, pretty much. But he changed weight classes and got a championship in multiple. He's good, fucking the man. All right, for a while, and had to kill his father. So every man must kill their father. Not like Oedipus style. Like, you don't have to physically kill them, but there is going to be a time where you have to be your own. You have to come of age yourself, be your own man, and ultimately leave your father or the perspective of your father behind. And it's in more so cases. I didn't have a father who was controlling. I had a father who seemed to want the best for me, who seemed to want me to succeed and learn and even grow beyond him. So I haven't had to have a violent like disassociation with my father. In high school and early 20s, there was a rejection of any of the rules, and I would conform in some ways, but I would rebel in some ways too. Going traveling, like leaving the country for years at a time, you know, to kind of separate myself from my familial life and ultimately find who I was trying to be, find myself. So let's hear what the First Lady has to say about drugs. Got some snot on my thumb. Can't open it. Can't open my phone. And it's not working. We're not supposed to talk about the war on drugs anymore. This is my take. My First Lady of the United States, substance use prevention, and the reason is because October is substance abuse prevention month. Did they get that from Rogan? Did they get that from Sober October? They're like, oh, Sober October is a meme already in society. Let's make it let's make it a month of substance abuse awareness. Substance abuse awareness. Like, it has substance abuse. Your campaign has substance abuse in the title. And I'm saying it over and over again. So what's really going on here? Why not healthy relationship with substances awareness month? You know, Gandhi said, I'll never go to a protest of war. I'll go to a protest for peace. Because words can matter, right? Like supporting instead of destroying. Instead of trying to destroy drugs, which is not going to happen. Life is slightly too difficult for everyone to cope with the traumas that come up. You know, everyone has a sovereign right to their own consciousness. So instead of trying to tear down something that's not working, build a system that's actually going to work. I'm gonna make this episode about healthy relationships with substances. And I'm still learning this, of course. Like, there's sometimes I'll light up a joint or drink an extra cup of coffee or eat an extra cookie. That's just like, okay, you know, you don't gotta do this. And what I'm finding in that situation is when I know I'm going to do it anyway, even though I feel like I shouldn't, before I light it or before I eat it, I'll just try to give me a second of gratitude or a second of okay, so I don't have to blame myself. I don't have to impose guilt on top of whatever I'm doing, which is like compounding a negative effect. I just want to enjoy it for whatever it's worth. So before I'll light up, I'll just, thanks. It's something like, something like that. Or I'll just try to even focus, like do it fully. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it fully and kind of give myself. So healthy relationships with substances. You don't have to be an addict to understand addiction. This is something that weighs on me tremendously. Is like, if you tried just a little bit, you can understand addiction. Try I'm not an addict. Just try. Any substance that you don't get that alters how you treat yourself and others is a dependency, okay? Being a human, we come with dependencies. Being a human, we come with dependencies. We are dependent on water and air and food. We are dependent on these things. You can make, and I don't want to hear the people that fast for 40 years, they eat a grain of rice, the Buddha story. Food, sleep, water, and air. Okay? Deny yourself water for 20 hours and notice how you treat people. That would be an exercise just to learn to empathize with what it feels like to have an addiction. Now, there's a hierarchy of addiction, right? And the value of that is still undetermined, the hierarchy. But the substances that I'm working with, and I notice my dependency on, and I notice my perspective changing if I don't satiate them, is caffeine, coffee, particularly, sugar, and cannabis. I love these things. I do derive a lot of joy and a fair bit of pleasure from these things. But I'm still working on bettering that relationship, that interaction with them, so that I don't feel necessarily dictated my actions, because they've certainly been destructive to me in the past. You know, coffee will get me up, jittery, and I'll just notice my ability to focus actually decreases with coffee, which seems counterintuitive, because it's like, oh, it's caffeine, alert, energy, but it can wobble me. Instead of my eyes being able to focus and soften into something, I can get wobbly from coffee. And the irony about my addictions is coffee kind of gets me going. And by committing to the cup of coffee, it's easier to commit to the cannabis a little bit later, because the coffee gets me up and the cannabis gets me a little bit, it's not grounded, softened or relaxed, or suppresses certain emotions. And then by the end of my cannabis run, I typically crave sugar. So like they all kind of go together. And on my 15-day cannabis fast, shit, I was getting crazy emotions coming through. And I don't think they're crazy. I think they're always there. But I do think I have suppressed a fair bit of them with cannabis, weed consumption, which is fine. I was going through some shit. It really did help with chemo. Like, cannabis certainly helps mitigate the nausea of chemotherapy. And I was very, very thankful to dive in to like a full relationship with cannabis. Before chemo, I would smoke, but I always had just a little bit of guilt. And by going through the chemo and seeing that cannabis genuinely had a physical remedy for me as medicine, I was able to give myself fully cannabis, which I had never done before. And having loved it, but also felt a little bit of guilt for using it, to throw the guilt away, it felt like super solid to connect with cannabis like that. And to just relax, give myself a break. Not everyone needs to give themselves a break maybe, but like I was pretty hard on myself. I still like to keep myself motivated and keep creating stuff, sharing. And it didn't always serve that. It would make the mornings just a little bit tougher sometimes. I was more likely to just kind of chill. Not that it's the cannabis's fault, but it certainly helped me kind of stay small when maybe I in college I'd go out to the bars all the time, and searching for love, searching for connection for a woman, and failing most nights, not having game, not having the confidence to approach someone or to be to dance or to be myself or to not wanting to be bothered, to get rejected. I'd go home and smoke cannabis. Cannabis was my girlfriend, pretty much. Really helped me cope with being kind of alone. So I still love it, but it's just our relationship is growing and changing. And I encourage people to just look at their substances they use as more of a relationship. That can change. That probably will change if you live long enough. It's kind of tough with medication, I imagine, where you're told to take it daily, and then, when do you rebel? When do you listen to yourself? When is the no right? And that I do not know. But I'd like to share that the chemo that I received, the treatment that I was given 12 cycles. I was told that I needed to do 12 cycles of chemotherapy. Now, after 4, I got a scan, and it showed that I was completely clear of cancer, that the treatment worked for me. And I said to myself, 12 is arbitrary. I'm an individual, and I'm open to not needing 12 just because it was told that I needed to do 12 cycles. I'm open to it being less. So I ended up doing 8 cycles and then talked to my doctor and said, I'd like to be done. He asked me why, encouraged me to keep going, but I had been meditating quite a bit on this. How much chemo do I need? At what point am I doing more harm than good? The cancer's already gone. So I ended up doing 8 cycles and saying, I'm done. I'm ready to move forward. And it was kind of a big moment for me, right? Like it was a moment of agency, a moment of sovereignty where I can just make that decision myself and live with the consequences moving forward, because the scary part of getting sick and then getting better is, I can get sick. It's possible that I get sick again. And that's like my PTSD, if you will, from the whole cancer experience, is how do I stay healthy? What did I do to create an environment that fostered illness in myself? And is there a way that I can move forward and live a long, healthy life? And I am doing some things different. I'm intentionally practicing gratitude as much as I can these past few weeks. I've been not so good with like my journaling and praying, speaking the gratitude besides being naked and getting hit by the sun. It's a no-brainer. Thank you. The warmth of the sun is an easy way to tap into the gratitude for me. But, other than that, eating, taking in enough calories. I think I over-fasted a little bit, which I got really thin, and I need fat to keep my immune system up. I need to prioritize my health over fitness, pretty much. Yeah, so those are 2 kind of lifestyle changes that I'm making, is gratitude and then consuming enough calories and just being okay with being a little bit easier on myself with my relationship with food, my relationship with substances. Man, I really want to start unpacking like my experience with ayahuasca and how and psychedelic mushrooms and how that's kind of helped me see my relationships with certain substances and notice that they could be different. Because with those in particularly, ayahuasca, psilocybin, it's not easy for me to just jump in and start doing. In fact, it can be quite difficult. I'm still scared sometimes to go into the psychedelic world. I do feel more resilient since going into, since the cancer treatment. I almost felt like each chemotherapy session was like a ceremony, like a psychedelic ceremony. And although I wouldn't be like taken to a different plane of existence, I would certainly go through a mental internal dialogue. And then there was a physical, toughness to those ceremonies as well. And as a joke, but in all seriousness, anytime I drink, I make the joke, this is an alcohol ceremony. Just to reorientate my brain to not, see this as a way to escape, but more as like, look, I'm communing with this awesome substance. Alcohol can certainly be awesome, and it can certainly help me connect with people and myself in a unique way. So just kind of going into it with a little bit of reverence, even a little bit of internal prayer, and then not going in on it too much. Like I drink maybe once a month, twice a month. And with my mindset of kind of gratitude and acknowledging the substance and what it can do, the good things, it's kind of orientated me to develop. I'm comfortable with my relationship with alcohol. And I kind of like my relationship with other things to be similar with how I've been able to cultivate a relationship with alcohol, which a lot of people struggle with, particularly. I think that's a pretty good place to kind of settle this conversation. And I also wonder how my recording's doing. It looks like it's going to be a little choppy. I hope it's okay. So happy substance, healthy substance relationship awareness month. Whether that means being sober in October, fine. Give yourself all the time you need. You smoke another joint, you smoke another joint. You take another drink, you take another drink. Do it fully. Get there when you need to. You don't have all the time in the world, of course, but, also be a little gentle with yourself. Thanks for tuning into the show. Heck, so much appreciate you, and I hope this was, pleasant for you. And I hope the video and the sound quality come through. I'm a little nervous about that, but thank y'all. Thank you guys so much. Much love out there, and be well. See you next time.